This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
It's Oh Behave with Arden Moore, the show that teaches you how to have harmony in the household with your pets. Join Arden as she travels coast to coast to help millions better understand why cats and dogs do what they do. Get the latest scoop on famous faces, their perfectly pampered pets, and who's walking who in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails. Garner great pet tips and have a doggone fur-flying fun time. So get ready for the pause and applause as we unleash your Oh Behave host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome to the Oh Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Today, we're getting a gut check and more from our special guest. He has been championing ways to keep people and pets healthy for more than 2 decades. Yep, he's a doctor and much more. And he will be sharing today some ways that probiotics can be a dog and cat's best health ally. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Shawn Benzinger. Hey, welcome, Dr. Shawn.
Arden, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
All right, guys, listen, Dr. Shawn, ready for his credentials? Certified chiropractic orthopedist, an acupuncturist, and a nutritionist. Wow. He's also the founder and director of the Indy Health and Wellness, and he hosts with Amy Baker and Dr. Ryan Bentley the Humarian Health Podcast. By the way, Humarian is a company that uses science to keep cats, dogs, and pee-pee. That's awesome. Well, listen to what I'm thinking.
Well, it's close to the same area. It really is. Isn't that far off?
Yeah, well, I meant not pee-pee, but people healthy. That's pretty nice. I just wanted to see if you were listening, Dr. Shawn.
Yeah, I am.
All right, do you guys really know what probiotics are and how they work? No worries. The good doctor is in the house, and he's going to explain some things about probiotics after we take this commercial break. So sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. Oh Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages.
Molly, here's your dinner. Zeus, that's not your food.
Don't let that happen to your precious cat. Elevate your cat's eating experience with the Cat Tree Tray. The Cat Tree Tray keeps your cat's food off the floor and conveniently located on the cat tree. It's the perfect way to eat. It's a beautiful wrought iron tray that easily attaches to your cat tree and keeps dogs and other critters out of your cat's dish. A must for multi-pet households. There's a 6-inch tray for large bowls and a 4-inch tray for smaller bowls. Purchase your Cat Tree Tray today. Go right now to cattreetray.com. That's cattreetray.com. cattreetray.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Oh Behave is back with more tail-wagging ways to achieve harmony in the household with your pets. Now, back to your fetching host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Our special guest today is Dr. Shawn Benzinger. He's on staff at Humarian. It's a company in Indianapolis, that makes scientifically based probiotic products for cats, dogs, and people. Now, I met Dr. Shawn, over the air, earlier this year because he invited me to be a guest on his Humarian podcast to discuss pet first aid. So, it's my turn to return the favor and have you as a guest behind the mic, Dr. Shawn.
Very
I really
kind.
did.
I appreciate it.
I really enjoyed being on your show. And when did the Humarian Health Podcast launch?
Well, it's about 1.5 years at this point. Now, prior to that, I had been on live call-in radio for 21 straight years nationally. So we've done it for a period of time, but it's only been about 1.5 years at this point, and trying to put the program together to be able to tie together people, animal health, and how they interrelate, because they really do.
Oh, my gosh. I think you hit it on the head. And People these days, what they think is good for them, they hope will be good for their cats and dogs as far as products. That's not always the case, right?
No, it's not always. But when it comes to probiotic, depending on the strain, it is that way, and it does make a big difference. I'll tell you one thing that it's a little bit ooey, but it is, I think, somewhat important to say, is that when you look at the human side, which translates really well to the dog side, and dog and cat side, what I mean by that is within about 6 months of living with your cat and dog, your biome, your good and bad bacteria of your gut is almost 80 to 90% the same as your animal is within 6 months. You don't think about it because you're not eating their food and they're not eating, they might be eating your food possibly, but the point of it is communal living actually changes the immune system of the humans as well as the dogs and cats, which is very interesting. But this is the one thing that kind of blows you away. So if you look at all the cells in your body, you have 10 times the amount of bacteria than you do cells living in the body, and you have 10 times the amount of viruses living in your body than bacteria. So if you really think about it, you got more bacteria and viruses living in your body than you do your own cells. So they play a massive role in how well or how good your health is, and it's the same thing in dog and cats.
So here comes the question, teeing it up. What the heck are probiotics? I mean, we see that all the time on the shelves, but give us the skinny.
Yeah, it's really coming. And on the human side, it's become pretty popular only because 12 years ago it became very popular. But I had interviewed the guy who had written the original book 20 years ago, Dr. Huffnagel, out of University of Michigan, saying that he thought this was going to be the new big thing. Well, now animals, dog and cats, were on the early end of that, early beginning of this, but it's starting to become a big issue. But the bottom line is this: when you look at your small intestine on average, or dog and cat small intestine, and the large intestine, most of the inner lining of it is covered by good bacteria. And we're talking billions and billions and billions of good bacteria. And the key is to make sure it stays good bacteria. Unfortunately, good bacteria is affected by environmental factors, poor quality food groups, stress issues, medications, and many other types of factors. And of course, antibiotics play a massive role too. And if you don't have that good flora protects you against disease and dysfunction. And remember, 80% of your immune system is in your GI tract. So think about it, 80% of your autoimmune related problems. So if you think of your cat and dog, and if they have autoimmune problems, one of the first things you want to make sure that you're addressing, and I'm sure your vet is to make sure that their biome or good bacteria is being given to them, because they're going to need it to be able to fight off whatever immune issue they're dealing with.
You reached a good point. I know there are sadly some dogs out there that have lupus and other autoimmune situations. So how do probiotics play a role for these dogs that have those kinds of conditions?
Well, and because we have to say this, you can never say a probiotic cures anything.
Right.
We know it supports and encourages your immune system to get better and to assist it in healing. And unfortunately, lupus, once that starts to happen, it's changed some of the cells within the immune system that themselves won't be cured by probiotic. But I will tell you this: if you don't have other things that are causing more inflammation, a lot of those types of animals have less and less symptoms if their gut biome or flora is in a much healthier basis.
Well, that's really good. I mean, I feel bad for the dogs that have that condition.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is. Now, you have a dog.
Yep.
We got to do a 411 on Miss
Fair
Lily.
enough.
Tell me about Miss Lily.
Lily's a white Maltese, and for myself, this is a very little dog, and I grew up with full-bred collies.
Oh.
I used to live out on a farm, and had also at one point a German Shepherd. So it had some, the bigger guard dogs, protect the farm type thing, and all of a sudden I don't have a farm anymore, and all of a sudden we bring this little white squeaker home. And it took me a little bit, because it was like, it's just little. Okay, it's just little. It was great for the ladies of the house. They loved it. It took me about a year or two. And then all of a sudden, I just found out the personality of this dog and the intelligence of this dog. It has been absolutely fabulous. And I've been very thankful to have Lily as part of our family. And I've grown to really appreciate the smaller dog. It's just I had never had one before, so it took me a bit.
Well, she said you had her at Bow Wow. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's Lily's personality like? You said she's got some smarts, and what's her personality?
Smarts and great intelligence, which is amazing. But what's funny is this: if you ever watched Ice Age and watched Scrat, that is our dog chasing a ball. You can't say ball, you can't see a ball, you can't anything with the ball, because if there's a ball or it starts with a B, the dog's going crazy, and it will run itself until it is exhausted. And it's been that way since it was a pup. It could barely even get its legs over the grass. And if you throw a ball out, it's going to get it. It's going to drag it back one way or another. But if I had it to do over again and I was earlier in this game, I probably would have looked at competition with this dog.
Wow.
It acts more like a cat than a dog. It's an amazing gift. And we had one before Lily that was what we called Loaf. Loaf didn't do anything. Loaf didn't run, it was her next door neighbor that labeled her because she did look like a loaf. I mean, and then we got Lily, and it was a completely different ball game, and it's been a blast. But I would have probably brought this dog into being in some competitive method, just simply because of its agility and intelligence and trainability. Beautiful dog. And then before, when you had Loaf before that, you never thought you were going to have this.
Nope, you never know. That's the fun thing. I was hoping that Lily is anywhere near the mic because I want to say, ball, chase the ball.
She is not, or otherwise she would be. I'd have to leave her out of here because she'd be going crazy. Ball, where's the ball? There's got to be a ball. Anyhow, it's hilarious. But if you've ever seen Scrat, it's our dog to a T. It's hilarious. Oh, my gosh. So it's a treat.
Yeah, and speaking of treats, it's very, very confusing to know what the right probiotic would be, not only for you, but for dogs and cats. And I know on the Humarian site, you've got this 16-page PDF pullout that basically is giving 6 reasons, what's the real truth about probiotics. I don't want you really to, I know you're not going to sound like a commercial, but not all probiotics are created equally.
No, not at all. And we created the 6 truths for people to learn about probiotics, not necessarily just about ours. Of course, ours does meet these standards, but here's kind of the 6, just a top criteria, which is number 1, are they good for your body and do you need good bacteria? Of course, the answer is yes. The second thing is, which strains keep you healthy? Well, remember, and you mentioned it earlier, is we have to have research to document what we're doing, and we found about 8 probiotics that we know has clinical research that we know makes a difference in the dogs and cats, and that's what we have in our product. Yeah, because a lot of them, most of them out there are only single strain, and first of all, single strain is not enough to get the job done. We know that the animal has up to 300 or 400 or 500 different probiotics, but the only ones that they right now are making that are available for us to distribute are about 8. So keep in mind that trying to get to that 8 that has science behind it is very important. Okay?
Yes.
And how your probiotic is prepared. Is it prepared in dairy? Is it not? Is it tested before? Is it mixed in a sugary mix? Because here's what's funny about it is many times they will mix it with food. Well, the point of it is if moisture and any kind of sugar hits, it's like, I hate to see this, it's like kids. They got kids probiotics in little liquid drinks that are a sweetener in it. Well, it's all dead because as soon as it hits water and sugar, it eats it and it dies. So making sure that it's prepared right is a really big issue. And most probiotics that are freeze-dried type don't have to be refrigerated. And if yours has to be refrigerated, you can't travel with it. You have a hard time getting the animal to take it. It's a big issue. Number 5 is, do you need a gazillion of them to get
I like that word, gazillion.
Gazillion, 50 gazillion. You need, well, the research doesn't show that. The research says as long as you have 100 million up to 1 billion, you've got about all you can get. Beyond the 1 billion, we found no research that supports the idea. But remember, we're in America. If it's good, then if we triple, it's got to be better. But in animals as well as humans, it really does not make a difference. And then lastly, and here's the key one, and we have yet to find another probiotic in the dog-cat arena that actually has proof that their product gets through the stomach acid into the small intestine in a live form. Because the question is, how would you check it? We actually went to the Netherlands and actually had our product tested and a mechanical GI tract system to prove it. Everyone else puts a little acid in a petri dish and calls it, it said it lived through it, so it must be good. Well, the point of it is, most of us don't want to put money and time into our animals unless we know it's going to make a difference. So those
Right.
6 truths are kind of things that if you take your probiotic, pull it out, and compare those 6 truths, you kind of know whether it's, check them off. And if the last one, they don't have any science to prove it, there are over a gazillion of them, they don't understand the science. So we put those together for you to be able to analyze your own probiotic as much as ours.
All right. Hey, folks, we're talking to Dr. Shawn Benzinger, and he is the good doctor when it comes to knowing about probiotics for dogs, cats, and us. He's out of Indianapolis. I was born in Indiana. I'm a Crown Pointer.
Really? Crown Pointer. Well, I'm originally from Fort Wayne area, so we're not too far away.
We were in the northwest. We were in the corner of the state. Yep. You were born in Fort Wayne?
Fort Wayne. In Fort Wayne, and we'd drive through Crown Point heading up to Chicago, where I received my doctorate up in Chicago. So I'm very familiar. And Crown Point used to have a great gymnastics team.
Yes, they did. Thank you. I remember that. I was a sports writer when I was growing up there. And Crown Point is also the place where John Dillinger escaped from our escape-proof jail, taking a piece of soap and blacking it with shoe polish and somehow being able to get a tool to carve it into a shape of a gun and fool Sheriff Lillian Holly back in the 30s.
I did not even know that story.
I know. That's stranger than fiction. But anyway, we're going to find some more truths about probiotics and why having a good gut health for your dog and cat is so important. Dr. Shawn is in the house, so everybody sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. All Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages.
Oh, sure. It's all fun and games until someone ends up in a cone. That's right. We are animals. Deal with it. Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Hi, this is Brandon McMillan, the host of Lucky Dog, and I invite you to listen to Oh Behave with Arden Moore on Pet Life Radio.
We're back from the lot. Just checked the paper and we had a record showing at the box. The letterbox, that is. Now back to Oh Behave. Here's Arden.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore, and I really like you, Dr. Shawn. You're a good guy. You're really trying to make this a healthier place for dogs, cats, and us. We're speaking with Dr. Shawn Benzinger. He's been a doctor for a long, long time. I don't know how many dog years that would equate to, but at least 2 decades, right?
Yeah, more like 36 years. So I think in dog years, I wouldn't be around much longer, that's for sure.
So the Humarian has come out with these, they're called, I guess, Probonix. Is that the right word?
Probonix, it's exactly right.
Probonix. That's the way we spell Probonix. Hey,
yep.
I'm not a cheerleader. So tell us how it works. You've got them for people and like a tincture, and it's a few drops seem to do a little bit of good for dogs and cats.
Yeah, just 6 drops. And the nice thing is it's in a liquid form. Anyone that's listening already knows what it's like to pour that powder on and have your animal look at you and say, okay, now what? You just messed up my food. But what we know is it's liver flavored. Put it on your food or in your water, and they'll drink it and eat it just simply because it tastes great. We've not had a single rejection of a dog and cat, which is odd. Because from what I understand of cats, that's likely to happen. But we haven't gotten that note yet. I'm sure it's going to come at some point. But I think the thing that I'd love your listeners to remember is this. All of us, whether you're looking on the human side or on the animal side, you're looking for how do I prevent getting something to have to deal with? Because that's really what we're aiming for. Because what we know is for every dollar you spend on prevention, $7 is saved. So probiotics is one of those things that if you have good bacteria, it enhances your absorption of nutrients. It's like I bring it over to the human side. If I have a patient over 70 years old, one of the first things I do is give that to them because it's going to enhance their absorption of nutrients, proteins, vitamins, up to about 10%. Well, that makes a big difference at 70 years old when absorption is an issue. So older animals, it makes a big difference also. And the point is not waiting until you or your animal get sick is the goal of everything you're doing. That's why you're seeing a lot of eating habits changed and raw eating in some people's cases or animals' cases. A lot of things are coming out of truths of how to take care of your animal better. And I think a probiotic is a key factor of that. And human side, we're seeing it. Animal side is just coming.
So let's do a rundown. I know on the Humarian.com site there are some things that probiotics, things that are clinically scientifically based, such as yours. Just do a rundown of some of the things that might help a dog or a cat specifically.
Well, the number one thing we hear is not having the runs. Being able to go out, like there's one that I won't say on your show, but a very well-known dog that has been in the throes of the dog and cat world for a long period of time. Well, a reasonably long period of time, and they travel a lot, get pictures a lot. One of the number one problems is they'll either have constipation or they have diarrhea. Well, when you have consistently good bacteria, then you're not as affected by water and other types of things when you travel. So number one is not having a runny diarrhea type of bowel issue is another issue.
Especially when you have white carpets or it's in the middle of the night. I am sort of a informal poopologist. And did you know that veterinarians actually do a score of 1 to 7 about poop for dogs and cats?
I have not seen that, but now I'm interested.
Okay, 3 to 4 is the healthy poop. It's looks like a log. You don't want to pick it up with your hands, but it's easy to pick up.
Right.
Number 1, apologies to this company, it looks like hard little milk duds. Not good.
Right.
Number 7 looks like milkshake, chocolate milkshake, but doesn't smell good or don't even try to taste it. So it sounds like with the probiotics, you're kind of hitting that sweet spot between a 3 and a 4.
Right. That's the entire goal. And I think we're seeing the same pattern with the cats and the dogs.
Right.
But as you know, I think it's the cats that have a little bit more on kidney conditions.
Exactly.
Dogs have a little bit more on the other, such as skin conditions, as well as GI-related problems. And all of that is autoimmune based. And it supports that immune system to hopefully prevent those other conditions from occurring. And I know with kidney disease, there's a lot of other issues, but cancer has become such a major issue with dogs and cats. And we know it's an autoimmune-induced issue. Well, we also know it's environmental and toxins and poor quality foods and the types of grains we've been feeding them. Well, probiotic helps balance those types of things also. So it really helps a lot of different conditions. It's just a total health supporter.
Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that one day your clients would include those that meow or woof or bark?
I did not think of that, and what's funny of it, it was actually a vet out of Florida that called us when on our human side, and it says, "Hey, is there anything in here that could hurt a dog or a cat?" And we said, "Well, I'll verify all the the ingredients, make sure, because we're totally non-dairy, organic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And I called her back and I said, "I do not think so." She said, "Okay," and she didn't say anything else. And all of a sudden, we see her writing these articles in magazines and everything talking about our product that she's giving to her dogs because
is that Dr. Patty? Dr. Patty, was that with her?
Nope, that wasn't okay. Dr. Patty. But right. that's even though that's another individual, but that wasn't the one that started this. And then finally, she called me about 6 months later, and I said, "I got this article by you writing about us," and she says, "Yeah, why don't you make a dog and cat thing?" I said, "There's got to be something." I said, "Okay." So we looked into it, and it was really her and we checked with our vets and our friends, and all of them said the same thing. It's like, why wouldn't you do it? And I said, well, I don't know. I didn't think about it. So here we are in the dog and cat arena, serving a need based upon input of those that were using the human product and crossing over, which we did not tell them to do. They were just, was it safe? Well, yeah, it was safe.
Well, that's the key. There are a lot of crossover supplements and medications and...
Right. Not all.
But not all. Thank you for saying that. Yeah,
so you have to be wise. True.
Yeah. And in addition to this product, though, you get to still be on the air with your podcast. And I love this podcast because you cover a lot of issues for 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there.
100%. And the reason why is because if you look at a family unit, it's all related to that, whether it be the baby child or the baby puppy, right? Or the older adults or whoever else is living in your household. Being able to communicate cutting-edge ideas that make a difference in your quality of life is really what I used to do in radio years ago, but I had the chance to interview internationally and be able to expose people to other options of how to take care of themselves better. And kind of have a rule that we look for is there's a few things that have to happen if you're going to change your ways. Number one is you have to decide that you're worth making a change for. Number two, and very importantly, can you do it? Can you afford it? Can you actually do it? And then number three is, does it fit into your lifestyle so it doesn't kick out something else so that you know you can't stick to it? Those are the three things. But let me say this much, Arden. The number one of all those, which I think is so important, is oddly enough, number one. Am I worth it? Is the hardest one to get people to do. Now, their dog and cat, no problem. Oh my gosh. You know, for Lily, it isn't like you're asking Lily goes, oh, no, I don't really want to take care of myself. I'm not worth all that because, let's spend the money with somebody else in the family.
No, she's saying put the Probonix
absolutely.
on my ball.
Rock and roll. I feel better. I got more spring. But it's many times the mom frequently that's going, no, I'd rather put it towards the kids or whatever, but it's not me. And it's interesting, overcoming that one thing. And we try to cover it in our podcast over and over and over so that people start assimilating the idea that everyone's part of the family, everyone's important, everyone needs to be taken care of.
Oh, I think that's right. And folks, after the show, just dash over to Humarian.com. It's Humarian.com. Because there's a lot of good information on it. You've got it for people, for pets. Yep. There's a lot of places on the pages that you can learn what the heck probiotics are. You did a great job on that. The podcast is there. There are blogs. I mean, it's not just selling products. You're trying to educate.
Yeah, it's all about the people. And if somebody purchases our product, we want them to purchase it knowing that we cared about them when we put it together, and we care about them when they're not using our product. We have thousands of people come and just read our information, listen to our podcast, because it changes their life and makes a difference. And if that is all that we've done something good, and that's worth it. And that makes you be able to sleep well at night.
Oh, I agree. So any parting message, anything that people don't know about you, like did you secretly get like 7 holes in one on one round of golf, or what's something that people may not know about you, Dr. Shawn?
No, the only thing that I've actually looked for is anyone who actually listened to the first live radio program I ever did. I am so sorry, because that probably was so bad 35 years ago that you had to be tortured listening to the ums and ahs that I went through trying to develop a pattern of live radio. It was so difficult. So I'll just say there's my apology if you were one of them.
Well, I think you did a great job on our show.
No, see, that's good. If you heard the first show, the guest doesn't show up because they have a car accident on the way in. I, of course, trying to have information. And when you're live, you don't get breaks and times. And you can't just, hey, let's go to, oh, my gosh, it was embarrassing. But, I have spent most of my life apologizing for what I did to him 35 years ago, because I'm sure some have not fully recovered from that show.
Well, I think you don't need to apologize anymore. I'm waving the wand. You are good behind a mic, but you also are there for keeping us all healthy, and I salute you for that, Dr. Shawn.
Appreciate that. That's the goal.
So we can go to Humarian.com, but you got a website too, right?
BenzingerOnHealth.com. It's okay, I gotta say it. It's old. It's so old. It's so old. It's oh my gosh. It has it has like for those that are geekers out there, it has almost 1 terabyte of just videos on vitamin B, vitamin A, heart disease, all those stuff. You can download all that kind of stuff from there, but man, is it old. So just realize I'm ancient from that time, but it is at least good information. But I think Humarian's by far the most up-to-date and solid information. The other is, just remember, old. No, but it's good information. It's still old.
That's right. Well, we applaud you for keeping everybody healthy. Hey, folks, we have been delighted to have Dr. Shawn Benzinger from Humarian.com, but he also, as I mentioned, he is the founder and director of the Indy Health and Wellness. That's in Indianapolis, yes, the state capital of Hoosierland. So please check him out, and please check out what you can do to get good probiotics for you, your dog, and your cat. There's a lot of good scientifically based information on that site, so I'm glad you've done that. And since we've talked, this humble podcast has been recommended by Oprah. as one of her top 3 pet podcasts.
Oh, wonderful. Isn't that great?
I know. So I'm poor and famous.
Congratulations.
We congratulate Mark Winter. He's our executive producer of Pet Life Radio.
That's great.
We've been doing this for about a decade, not as long as you, but we were very honored. We're trying to get her on the show. If you have any connections, I'm sure you do. Just call them.
I'm sure I've got a fax of a friend of hers somewhere.
I'm sure. But anyway, hugs and a brand new ball for Lily to chase after the show.
Thank you, Arden. I appreciate it.
And
thank you for having me on.
All right. And folks, I also want to give a shout out to Mark Winter. As I mentioned, he's the executive producer of Pet Life Radio. We call him the Wizard of Paws because he orchestrates this and all the other podcasts on this network. And I want you to know that until next time, this is your flea-free host, Arden Moore, delivering just 2 words to all you 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there. Oh, behave.
Coast to coast and around the world, it's Oh Behave with Arden Moore. Find out why cats and dogs do the things they do and get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get great tail-wagging pet tips and have a fur-flying fun time. All Behave with America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore. Every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.